Good, Lauren. Sure. Good to see you. And back to this story that we followed very closely here at the live desk. Michael Vick saying that he was speaking from the heart when he apologized to football and to fans. Will his reputation and his career be restored? Some people think that everybody is being too hard on him. That's next. That's a pretty powerful moment yesterday. That's Billy Martin, who he just shook hands with. Michael Vick, as he entered the area heading into the courtroom. The fallen football star appearing at federal court yesterday. He entered a guilty plea in the brutal dogfighting case. He was scheduled to do a radio interview, which would have been his first interview since all of this happened, but he backed out of that. Now, after his court appearance, he went on to make a statement to the media. He apologized to the NFL commissioner, to the Falcons, to young kids who are his fans. He also said he found Jesus and that he rejects dogfighting. The apology got some mixed reviews, some saying that Vick is on the road to repairing his image and his career, and others saying that it's too little and it's too late. James Peterson is a professor at Bucknell University and founder of hiphopscholars.org. James, it's good to have you with us. Welcome.
Thank you for having me, Martha. Good afternoon.
You know, everybody has piled on this case. There's a lot of anger surrounding these crimes. Do you think that that is unfounded or that it's out of proportion?
I do think it's out of proportion. I think it's a little bit of overkill. I mean, I've talked to a lot of people about this particular issue, and people are just too happy at Mike Vick's downfall. So it seems to me that it's a little bit overstated in the media. Why do you think people are
happy at his downfall?
You know, I'm not exactly sure. I think there's a general jealousy of young inner-city kids who kind of emerge and become very, very wealthy people through sports. We have a sense about our athletes that they kind of don't appreciate their positionality in our society. And if you follow the media that has been following Mike Vick, they've been critical of him throughout his entire term in the NFL for various reasons.
Yeah, that's true.
And so I think that this was just an opportunity for all that to explode.
You know, before all this happened, you know, there was a much tamer thing in retrospect, but I remember him giving the finger to the fans as he walked off the field. That kind of stuff does not engender, you know, warm, fuzzy feelings from fans, really.
It does not, but I mean, he's under an extraordinary amount of pressure. And again, we have to ask, you know, we assume that Michael Vick has had all this sophisticated sort of training and expertise in the media and what to do and what not to do. But I think that's an assumption we should not make.
Is the world tougher on him because he's black?
I believe so. I think if you look at the sentencing, you look closely at what's going on here legally, you look at the court of public opinion, my sense is, and my abiding sense is that race is a factor here.
All right, James, stay with us. We're going to take this on with our panel.
Sure.
And see what the A-list has to say about this. Joe Watson's here. He speaks on diversity issues. He's also the author of Without Excuses. Danielle Idala is a former prosecutor, and she's an attorney, and she joins us as well today. John Patrick Dolan is a criminal defense attorney, and today's Fox Wildcard, Fox News legal analyst Lee Sweal is here as well. Joe, what about the race question in all of this?
Well, I think at a high level, you know, race is a part of everything that we do. So we have to take that, but then we have to put it to the side because race has very little to do with criminal behavior. And at the end of the day, Mr. Vick had a $100 million+ contract. And this wasn't about a random incident or a one-time lapse of judgment. Essentially, we were operating a criminal enterprise. Let's not forget that over a period of years. Right. Last time I checked, that's not a fluke.
Yeah. You know, but the thing that, and this is something that James brought up earlier in the notes from before, but I'm very interested in the outrage level in this story. I think everybody loves dogs. Yes, everyone loves animals. But I'm wondering why there are similar NFL cases, one where a man was paralyzed in a bar fight for life. Another is a murder case. Why is it that we don't get thousands of emails about the human beings who were injured by NFL football players, John?
Because people care more about dogs than they do about people.
Sorry, go ahead, James.
You got me. I think that's true, but if you look at this indictment, the underlying charges regarding the dogs are misdemeanors, are petty crimes in the federal system. Nobody has been saying that. If you look at what's happened with other athletes, rape, gun violations, vehicular manslaughter. These athletes went on and had a substantial sports career as professionals. And I don't know why people think that Michael Vick is such a bad guy.
All right, well,
it's awful to talk about dogs.
Let's talk about why people think that Michael Vick is such a bad guy. And James, I want you to respond to this as well. Electrocution, drowning, rape stands. I don't know how that works. I don't even want to know how that works. But the brutal crimes to these animals, many of which may end up being killed because they're basically considered worthless to society after what reportedly Michael Vick and these others did to them. What about that, James?
I think that's terrible. I mean, if you guys have ever seen clips of this, you know that dogfighting is an evil and an awful enterprise. But there certainly is a cultural context out of which Mike Vick would engage in this, not to excuse it, but just to understand the way that Peter feels about this is probably not the way that Michael Vick was raised to feel about this. So there are some differences and distinctions that need to be made here, and that still does not justify the discrepancies in the outrage at different things that NFL players and other athletes have done.
But if you look at these pictures that we're, showing right here of these darling dogs, I mean, the helplessness, just like with an infant or a child. I think we sort of equate, the dogs with children that we do, have very serious punishment for. And
But they're not kids, though.
Well, you ask a lot of people, and they would say they love their pets, especially people without kids. Those pets are their children. I mean, I have literally heard people refer to their pets as their children.
Of course, and here's this guy who raised himself up from his bootstraps. He grew up in an impoverished area. He's a role model to children and fans, and here he is funding this larger criminal enterprise where people are betting on these dogs. These dogs are getting executed like little children. I think that's the inexcusable part of it.
But the criminal enterprise is the felony conduct. What has to do with the dogs is actually misdemeanor or petty crime conduct. And you don't want to diminish it, but you want to say, if you compare this to other athletes, it just doesn't compare when people are talking about a lifetime ban.
You also know that the prosecutors are going to, because he came in and pled fairly quickly, and they were able to wrap this up without a trial, they were able to get it down to a conspiracy charge. If it had gone to trial, it would have been many felonies involved.
Well, they would have had a superseding indictment. But remember, first guy to the U.S. Attorney's Office gets
we gotta go.
That's how it works.
All right. And coming up next, James Peterson, thank you very much. Good to have you with us today. 10 years.